Fflex to part 2. If you missed part 1 of how to stay fit and healthy on the road, you can check it out up here or down below in the description. Today we're focusing more on nutrition while traveling and making sure that you're eating properly, both on those travel days where everything's really stressful and on the days surrounding travel where leading up to the travel is really stressful and chaotic. So we're joined again by my good friend Caileen.
Hi! Competitive bodybuilding myself. I'm a coach for Team Fflex. I do both lifestyle and competition coaching. And I'm a mom too, so juggling all that. I know it's not traveling on the road, but it is also wild.
And we're talking about my wife's favorite topic today, food. No, but seriously, LZ can eat about 3 times the amount of food that I can and not gain a single pound. It really is not fair. I look at food and I gain weight, and it kind of sucks. So we're two very different type of people, and I think you wanted to kind of talk about the differences in people.
Yeah, so obviously not everybody is the same, and how we kind of describe this is somatotypes. So crazy word, maybe first time hearing it. But it basically talks about 3 different body types. So your first one is an ectomorph. So this is an individual who has a hard time gaining fat or muscle. LZ. So you all have that friend that can just put it away without like gaining an ounce, and so they would be an ectomorph. In the middle of the road you have a mesomorph. So this individual can gain muscle fairly easily, but can gain fat at a fair pace, but nothing too drastic. Whereas, again, an ectomorph cannot gain muscle as easily, doesn't really gain any fat. And then you have the endomorph, which is the other end of the spectrum, where this individual may put on body fat easily, but they also put on muscle very easily, but it can be a little bit harder to lose the body fat. So of course, there's the 3 main ones, and people might fall in between or lean closer to one or the other. So it's not like, oh my gosh, I'm gonna be this for the rest of my life. You can kind of wander between stages. So.
And of course, like for bodybuilding, being kind of right in between is like the Goldilocks zone. But you don't necessarily have to in order to be a bodybuilder or to be healthy or in shape.
That's very true. I was an ectomorph for a lot of my life. There was times where I was eating a lot of food and still like just hanging on to every little bit of muscle I could. But like over time, I feel like my body has adjusted. Now I feel like I'm more mesomorph.
Okay, so now that you've kind of defined somatotypes and we hear it out loud, it kind of makes sense that my wife and I are different somatotypes. We need to eat probably differently, but I guess the challenge there is how to define what we're eating towards our somatotypes that actually gets us towards our fitness goals.
And also how to quantify the difference between the 2 of us.
Of course. So that's where macros come into play. I don't know if you guys are familiar with it.
Well,
it's not
the macro queen
I
hat.
am the macro queen here. It's not short for macaroni and cheese, sadly. But macros are basically these different macronutrients is what it's short for, and it's like the building blocks of what make up a lot of things. So we have 3 main macronutrients, and that's going to be carbs, fats, and proteins. So we are going to do a little bit of a deeper dive into this. Everybody knows what a carb is. Everybody knows what a carb is, but it is basically each gram of carb has 4 calories associated to it. We know what protein is. We think of meats, all of that stuff. Each gram of protein is going to have 4 carbs associated. With fats, when we think fats, we want to think like oils and things of that nature. And each gram of fat is going to have 9 calories associated with it. So
the fats are much more energy packed and dense.
Yes, okay. That is a fair assessment of things. But one thing I will note here is that a lot of foods are a combination of 1 or 2 or sometimes even 3 macronutrients. So you think of a hamburger, right? Okay. Beef, usually a little bit fattier of a cut, usually 80% at the minimum. I'm not a cook, so don't come at me with that. I'm not a cook. But hamburger beef tends to be a little bit fattier. Then you've got the bun, which is primarily carbs, and then of course the meat itself is protein as well. So a hamburger is like a big helping of pretty much all three macronutrients. So whole ectomorphs tend to do a little bit better with higher carb ratios versus someone who's an endomorph might do better with higher fats. So protein should stay fairly constant. There is lots of debate about how much protein a certain individual should take. I myself say 1 pound per body weight minimum. I'm even like above that because I freaking love protein. But getting to that baseline, protein is just like a satiating macronutrient. So it will help you curb cravings, all the good stuff we can get into later. But again, very individualized per your person. I wish I could say you eat this much, you eat this much, but that's where having a coach comes in handy too, because you might need to tailor these things as you get into certain parts of your fitness goal. That's a whole nother topic of adjusting macros.
Yeah, but I mean, this is what you do as a coach, right? You do this for your clients. You balance their workout plan and their fitness goal with their body type and like what types of foods they like to eat, so that they're not constantly like going back and like craving something and blowing up their macros, right?
And that's one thing too, is like we do offer just nutrition coaching, but like having your fitness and your nutrition married, like that gets like optimal results. So if you are just looking for nutrition coaching, we do that. However, getting the whole spectrum gets a little bit better results.
How is the best way to keep track of how many fats you're getting, how many carbs, and how much protein to pull together your macros?
Let me tell you, we live in a brilliant time, because I tell you, I don't know if I would have been a bodybuilder back in the day tracking my macros, if I would track them all on paper and pen, but...
Yeah, that's kind of what I was envisioning.
Yeah.
I was like, oh no.
These days, we have food diaries or tracking apps. The most popular one is called MyFitnessPal, all one word. It is free to download. Of course, they have a pay for feature, but you absolutely do not need to pay for MyFitnessPal, and you can be able to use it in ways that will suit you for everyday life. Now, the other thing about tracking macros too is when you start out, it is very daunting. Like, it's like, oh, I gotta, on top of a crazy travel day, you're like, oh shoot, now I gotta add this and that. It starts to get very intuitive. So if you're a creature of habit like myself and you eat the same thing like every single day, then it will say like, oh, it's breakfast time. Are you eating this, this, and this? And it's like, yes, I am. Let me just swipe right and just add all that to it. So I know at first the thought of tracking macros just seems like so much work.
What types of foods can we, or meals can we prepare or make or bring with us to not totally blow our macros out of the water by eating a bag of chips or like a bunch of Skittles or something?
Yes, so that is the main thing on travel, whether you're bringing snacks or you are hitting the road and you just didn't prepare and you're going out to eat somewhere. You're gonna pick something delicious because you're stressed out, and if it's delicious, it's probably gonna be high in carbs and fats. They're like basically getting anything on the road is shit for protein. So whenever I travel, I always bring I plan out, and this is me being very type A, you don't have to be this extreme, but I plan out each day and make sure I have enough protein on my person for each day that I'm traveling, because I know I can get carbs and fats anywhere, easy peasy. But the protein is where everybody skims. So one of my favorite things to do are, and again, these are foods that you don't want to eat like every single day, but you know, in times of travel or chaos, they're great little resources, because you know the saying, fail to prepare, prepare to fail. So these are my main bitches right here, okay? If I've got a long day, I will go with the Costco or Sam's Club can of chicken. If you break down the macros real quick, one can is 4 serving sizes. One serving size is 20 grams of protein, just about, I rounded up, it's 19. So you can pack 80 grams just in one can of chicken. One of my favorite things to do, pop it open, drain it. If you've got a fridge, I love Bolthouse Ranch. Maybe we can link that up. It's a very low calorie ranch dressing. I love ranch dressing. I think it's a white person to me.
In our fridge, we're very limited for space, so we actually do a powder ranch. Yes. You gotta be careful with how much powder ranch you have too, but it doesn't take up as much room, and it's probably pretty good to stick in a Ziploc bag and bring with you if you're traveling out of a backpack even.
Absolutely. I mean, these things, they stay good forever. Now, if you have, like, I know you've got celiac, so you're more limited in your flavorings, but if you are not more limited in your flavorings, you want things easy to go, no draining, no anything, you've got the packets here. Now, again, we live in an amazing time where you can get any flavor of tuna, and I mean, it's a smaller package. You only get 14 grams of protein per, so you might want to pack like 2 or 3. I usually pack like a whole bunch in there because, again, you want to be prepared. Or they have like the Mondo unflavored size, but not as pleasant on the taste buds. And of course, you got the good old canned tuna if you want to drain and all that good stuff. What's nice about all these is they are, especially if you're tracking macros, they're all portion controlled, so really easy. You don't even have to worry about a scale for all this because you've got your portions already portioned out for you.
So that's going to help us with preparing beforehand and also getting our protein in.
Mm-hmm.
What happens when we're driving for 6 hours and I'm really craving those chips while we're driving? What's a good replacement for that, maybe?
Well, I'm gonna probably say something that shocks you, but if you're prioritizing your protein, you can eat your chips. You just do want to limit with a food scale. Don't ever bring the whole bag out to have nearby you. Pre-plan, take your bowl, set it on here, get your chips in, put the bag away. So then you can portion control that way. But I also love rice cakes. Again, a beautiful time we live in. They have so many different flavors. This is the original, lightly salted. It literally goes good with anything, whether it's sweet or savory. So with my little chicken mix, I'll throw it on top of some rice cakes, easy peasy. Your serving sizes are per cake. So in MyFitnessPal, you just scroll how many cakes you eat. Of course, don't eat the whole bag. Obviously, you're gonna rack up some carbs. We've also got the white cheddar representation. Some notable favorites is the tomato basil, if you can find it. Super good with tuna. If you're in the sweet mood, apple cinnamon, totally good. That's a great like little dessert. So many flavors. I've had them all. If you want honest reviews, just hit me up on Instagram and I'll tell you which ones are the best. But these are my main guys in that aspect there.
So to help us from maybe devouring the whole bag when we're really hungry, I guess if you're in an RV or traveling full time where you have access to a kitchen, maybe making it so you don't get to the point of being hangry would be a good idea, which we could meal prep.
Absolutely. Meal prep is key. Like I said, like eating out of a can is not ideal. But if it's eating out of a can or eating fast food, I'm thinking eating out of a can is way better than any of the junk in the fast food. But ideally what you would want to do, I know you guys are Instant Pot users. I'm an Instant Pot user. I throw whatever meat in there that I'm doing, whether it's, chicken is my favorite. Great supplement is having a good protein powder or protein shakes on deck because, again, things get chaotic. These, you can slam one of these in like 2 minutes.
You don't have to prep it, you don't have to clean anything.
Yes, and of course, if you don't want the refrigerated, you can get a protein powder, mix it with water, then when you're on the road, it's fine. I will say if you are on a lower calorie, like if you're in like more of a cutting fat loss phase, I do not like drinking my protein because I don't get the satiation of a protein shake. So a lot of people go to protein shakes because it's easy early on in their fat loss journey, and then they come to me and they're like, I'm starving. And I look at their day of eating and it's like protein shake, protein bar, and it's just like, yes, you can, it's easy, it's great, but at this point in your life, I might want you to focus on actual protein. The thing about macros, macro tracking, flexible dieting is that it's the most sustainable because I don't know about you guys, I love my bread and my carbs. Like, just the thought of only eating less than 20 grams of carbs gives me nightmares. And I know I could do it if I wanted to, but like, I enjoy going out to dinner. Like every once in a while, I enjoy eating carbs regularly. Rice cakes are my bae, so really having something that is, you're able to make split time decisions, especially when you're camping. It's like,
yeah, you already have so many decisions to make that you can actually get decision fatigue, and then you're just pulling the quickest thing that's going to satisfy whatever your brain's telling you want.
Yes.
Yeah. All right, folks, so that's going to wrap it up for our part 2 video. Again, if you haven't seen part 1 talking about exercise on the road or while traveling, you can check that out up here or down below. And I want to take a time to thank Caileen, a big thank you for coming on and guiding us through some of these, and definitely taking away some tips on our macros and what we should and should not be eating on the road. But of course, that's quite complicated. It's individual, personal to person, and with the new year coming up, if you're finding yourself struggling with your nutrition and fitness goals, there's people out there to help you with that. And this is one of them.
Hi, yes, it is literally what fills my cup. So click the link below, will take you to the website. We do a free week of coaching, so you can coach with me or any of the other coaches. There's also a bunch of quizzes. I forgot to tell you, you can do a quiz on what your somatotype is.
Oh, no kidding.
Yeah,
Wow.
so
Nice.
if you're unsure, take that, and that will lead you actually straight to the website and all that good stuff. We'll link it below. But yeah.
And make sure to subscribe to us. That's a free way to support both us and Caileen.
Yeah, you can check out Caileen's YouTube down below as well, or her Instagram. I follow all of your stories.
Sometimes they're wild, sometimes not.
And once again, thank you all for joining us for today's video. Take it easy. Cheers.